Welcome back to West Texas View.
Welcome back to the West Texas View. Dr. Jane and I were enjoying this conversation that we were having about the difference in the cultures of children sharing parents' beds. And one of the things that I know that we do in our group of friends as we were raising our children was the children knew that their bed was in their room. But they could come occasionally, like if the weather was bad or if they'd had a hard day and they needed some extra comforting. But they didn't do it on a regular basis, and they knew that that was kind of a special thing.
Right.
And so does that confuse the children to just get some kind of special privileges?
Well, actually, if a child, it should be spontaneous. If a child wants to sleep separately, then it's okay. But if you say that to a child that only sissy boys or sissy girls, or you're gonna be a loser if you don't sleep separately, you're not gonna be the man, or you're not gonna separate yourself to be an individual. So the child kind of forces those expectancies on himself or herself and forces. So this should not happen. If a child voluntarily wants to sleep, and most children by the time they are 10, 12, early adolescent, they really don't want to sleep with their parents, and that's what the issue is. If the child voluntarily separates, that's fine, but should not be forced. And in early time, if they share the bed and things like that, in fact, there are the reverse of that scene, that there's a more strong bonding, as I said. There's a better development of language skills, there's better communication in the family, there's a more harmony in the family, there's a better relationship between the parent and the child when they actually go sleep together.
And instead of being a sissy, they're really more confident.
They're more confident, actually. They have become better communication skills. They have better understanding of the family dynamics, because this, just like we have a saying in our Western culture that a family that eats together, dinner or stays together. I think that's an extension of this. The family who's sleeping together in terms of times, because children feel most vulnerable when they are sleeping, and that's why very young children tend to cry when they sleep, because they feel so vulnerable, and that's when they need most their most secure attachment figure, usually mother or father.
But turn that around and talk about the attachment the mother has to having that child there, and then when the child wants to go back to their bedroom and the mother wants them to keep staying there, or their mother and father.
Yeah. I mean, most, this is again, I've seen in my culture and other culture that until very old age, when I say very old, I'm saying about 10, 12, 13 years old, they still share the same bed, and it's kind of comforting for them. Again, but we're looking from the point of view from the child's development. For mothers, it's always difficult to separate from their children. It'll not be detrimental to child's development if the mother is wanting the child to sleep in the bed in the same way, just to comfort the child, because the attachment is both ways, a two-way street. The child gets something from the mother, the mother also gets something from the child. It's just a way of dynamics that goes, it just brings more closeness.
But what if there is a conflict between the mother and father about whether that child sleeps with them? Does that child feel that?
It's important to feel that, and this something should be discussed in absence of the parent. Even before you have children, young parents should discuss these things happening.
Just like breastfeeding or anything else, it's a really important.
It's an issue that in a breastfeeding, it's a very important issue. We know that the breastfeeding is not only just a nutritional value, but also brings very close attachment and bonding with the. That's why we encourage breastfeeding the moment the child is born, right? So I was talking about sharing bed. There are a number of different ways we can handle this situation. If one parent is opposed to bed sharing and the parent is okay with that, and there's a very young child, maybe the mother can sleep with the child in the child's room until the child has gone to sleep, and then maybe separate that. Right, and ask the child, if the child opens up, if the child cries, the mom, of course, or the parent, be given a free permission the child to come and join. Because children get scared for bad weather, lightning, thunderstorm, or anything, or even a bad dream.
Or just hearing something creak.
And it doesn't happen every day, so the child should be given an opportunity to come as freely as possible to come and join the bed.
I know that you have written this article that's to be published, and you've been really collecting all these most recent studies. And we've talked about all the pros, the good things that happen because of this. Are there any cons that have come through in these?
Well,
Any objectionable things?
the only objectionable things has come because of the, I think,
The attitudes of the
Attitude,
parents and the society in
yeah, and
general.
particular society things. For example, I have a patient who's about 21 years old, but he is mentally retarded. He's got autistic, and his mother is single mother, and the child, of course, he's big and strong physically, but emotionally, mentally, he's like a small child.
Yeah.
And she came one day to my office quite distressed that the family, extended family and neighbors were looking badly because they were sharing the same bed. And I reassured her that for her, he's the same child, and for the child, she's the mother. So the dynamics of the relationship is the same. I don't care what other people think, but if it's very comforting, and usually it's very comforting for the child because he's autistic, he's mentally retarded, he needs a lot more support and encouragement, and kind of all the love and support, love that needs, and it's very helpful.
But that gets in our way. Our feelings of what does the neighbors think gets in our way about a lot of things.
Right.
And instead of saying, no, you can't have those kinds of genes, we think, well, if we don't get her those kind of genes, the neighbors will think we can't afford that kind of genes, instead of that we're trying to teach her lessons.
In my opinion, bed sharing is a very behavioral thing. Now, I can understand if you have an adolescent daughter who's, of course, maturing, and then the father may be uncomfortable doing that. I mean, that makes a little bit. And the bed sharing, let's extend it that it may not be just sleeping in the same bed, but however, sharing the same room, maybe different beds, where the child can reach you if strive,
reach over and touch you.
Touch you in times of distress. Because for the child, and we know that children are maturing, they're having puberty earlier and earlier. Now we have girls having puberty at 10 and 11. So physically they are maturing, but emotionally they're still very small kids. They still need the dad or mom, very close by. So you really want to facilitate those kind of behaviors.
It's almost like when you had the little infant in the crib and pulled that crib right up to your bed and reached over and put your hand in.
That's a perfect example that you can reach and touch the kid, and the kid can reach out and touch the parent at times when they are feeling a little distressed while they're sleeping.
Well, that's interesting. Do you see a change in American culture? Do you see a change in movement toward that? Because I've seen so much change, like in breastfeeding.
Right.
It used to be something that people just said, oh, that's stupid to take the time and do that. And now everybody is talking about that. And so
I think as a society becoming more heterogeneous, and we're getting more influences from other cultures, and we see that children coming from other cultures are doing equally well, the mainstream culture will realize and will start adopting these practices.
We're going to have to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a minute.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.